I am 22 years old now, and the thought of retirement never really used to cross my mind. Financial literacy? No, get out the window. Stocks? What the f***? It was safe to say I was clueless. I saved money, but for what reason? People saved their money and had their money working for them. How could I save my money and make my money work for me? I decided to invest a lot more time into learning about finances and financial literacy. And today in this video, I'm going to help you do just that. I'm going to be targeting more in the lines of university students and that sort of area, but it could work for anyone who's just beginning their journey into finances and into the world of financial literacy.
Finances, for a lot of people, is a topic they wish to avoid as best as they possibly can. It should be kept in the dark corner of the room and only spoken about when absolutely necessary. But that is one of the biggest problems with it.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Andy and I appreciate you taking the time to come and watch this video on the channel dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself. If you'd like a free audiobook and ebook, I actually created Why Your Mindset Stops Your Success. So if you want to start crushing your goals, click the link down in the description, get that free audiobook and ebook. Plus you'll have a ton of freebies in the future, information, discounts and more. I'd highly recommend it. I've only just started my financial journey and I've already made a few mistakes along the way, and just before I get started, I want to make sure that anything that I do say here is not professional advice. Please make sure to consult a professional before taking any action. I see a lot of people say that and want to make sure I get that out of the way. I know for many students, money is the tool for drink, fun and food. And that's the sort of triangle of basis that most people go upon. But today I want to introduce you to my different triangle, and that is compound interest, ETFs, and ISAs. Compound interest is the interest on the principal sum that you've put in at the start. Basically meaning if you put £1,000 into an account which earns 5% interest year in and year out, and you reinvest that interest that you have earned in that year back into the account, after 10 years, you'll have £1,628. So that's £628 of profit you've made from doing absolutely nothing. This means that over time, as you reinvest more and as you put more money into something, the compounding interest will add up. And usually when this hits around the 25-year mark is when it really starts to take off, but it does not mean at the start it's not worthwhile. Let me show you what I mean just as an example for what I done when I first started out and what I was putting myself into. Now understand that some of these percentages are going to vary and they're not going to be dead set, but I want to give you a better understanding of what saving your money and putting it into places that can actually make you money and also reinvest in the profit that you've made to allow compound interest to work can do for you. If we use this site just for as an example and we say our initial investment is £1,000 and the interest rate would be 5%. A lot of people often put this way above 5% and say things like 10% interest rate you'll get in, but in reality, it doesn't happen year in and year out. Some years you're gonna lose, some years you're gonna gain a lot more. It's just the way it works. I'm going to put 5% as a sort of baseline, as I feel that's a solid average of what the interest you could actually make in any given year. If we go for the full 40 years and we think about that as university students and we'll get to that retirement age, for me personally, I don't actually want to do this and get to that stage where I'm retiring at that age, but this is just gonna give you a better understanding. We're going to put a compound interval of monthly with the deposits being £100 per month that we put into this. And we're also going to increase the deposits yearly with inflation. Inflation is basically the power purchase that you have with any given time in a certain currency. So over time, your money is probably not going to be worth as much as it was in the past, and this is what inflation is. Average in the UK, I believe, is about 1.73%. So we're going to put it at that and calculate the total that you will make over 40 years. If you start with £1,000 in it, you have a 5% interest, and you put £100 every single month into that account. By the 40th year, you will have a total of £202,000 from something that seems pretty small. Now, over that period of time, you have put a total of £68,000 into this account where it is making you money. And we'll talk a little bit more about the accounts that you can do this for further in the video. But in total interest and what you've made by putting your money back into this account and leaving it for the full time, you would have earned £132,000 within the 40-year span. Down below, I will leave a link to this and you can mess around with that a little bit depending on the money that you have and depending on the money you can invest at that time. But here is a list of the things that would happen over the time: the deposits, the interest, the total deposits, the total interest you'd make, and the balance that you would have. Of course, this isn't a dead science and there's going to be variations in everything that you do depending on the money that you can invest, the time you're willing to wait for it, and the money that you take out when it comes to that. This is just to give you a better understanding of what compound interest interest is and the power that it actually has over time. We use the graph on this website to break down a little bit of where the compound interest really starts to work. The orange line determines the total interest we make, and we can see at the 25th year is when it really starts to take off and rise up. This is the power of compound interest, and this is the power that it has to allow our money to work for itself without us even doing anything. Using this and understanding this a little bit more led me on to learning more about stocks, bonds, and shares. What you're going to need to know at this point is that stocks rise and fall, and if they rise, you earn more money by having those stocks, and if they fall, you get the picture. I'll talk a little bit of that further on, but I started with what is called an ISA in the UK, and it's called an IRA in the US. An ISA, or an individual savings account, is an account that you don't pay tax on to a certain amount. In the UK, it's £20,000 per year. In the US, it's £6,000. This is also known as your ISA allowance, and it's the allowance you have each calendar year to be able to invest into this account. This has many benefits to it, most notably tax-free interest that you're making on it. So when you're putting money into it and when you're earning that money, after you take that money out of this account, you're not taxed on it to a certain amount. The great thing about these is you actually have access to the money and can choose the level of risk on certain ISAs depending on what you want to do with the money, how long you're wanting to keep it in there for, and just basically anything else you have. For anyone starting out in the UK, my recommendation would be Trading 212. Now I know they've had problems in the past. For the UK anyway, it seems to be the best out of all of them, and the one that has the best compatibility when it comes to PC and mobile phone usage. You can use other websites like Vanguard, which have been running for years now and are trusted by hundreds of thousands of people around the world. They also do ISA allowances for pensions, strategy for lifetime results, and more. I've done a video about this in the past, so if you would like to check out and find out a little bit more about Vanguard, link it down in the description and up in the cards right now. Now, ISAs and IRAs have great potential to earn you money over the long period of time. And it depends on the level of risk that you go for, but especially when you are a university student and you want to save a little bit of money and don't want to just have it in a savings account, which is actually decreasing your money over time due to inflation, then this is probably the best place to do it. You can use this from different avenues: your job, a side hustle, or even SaaS. I don't know if you're even allowed to say that. I'm not saying you should, but it's an option. There's no minimum that you need to put into these accounts to get started. With something like Vanguard, I believe there is a £500 lump sum at the start or a monthly recurring £100. So with Trading 212, it can be a bit better as well, because if some months you can't really afford that, then it's a good way to just get introduced into the stock market and understanding a little bit more about what it is. There is of course a lot more to that than just opening an ISA account on Trading 212, buying your first stocks, and that's it. I would recommend doing some of your own research in regards to this, but this video is just trying to get you exposed a little bit more to what financial literacy is and how you can make your money work for you over the long run. Now, a quick note on ISAs: you can only open one in a given tax year. You can't open two, else there's a lot of taxes that can be added onto that depending on what you do with them. So stick with one, and I'm sure that if you just stick with one and you do your research over that given year, you'll understand more about ISAs, why you should only open one, and why it's important to just stick with that to save you money on tax and make sure that it's tax-free. When I first found out about ISAs and how actually keeping your money in a savings account is losing you money over the long run, it blew my mind, because we always used to think that banks were where we kept our money safe and where we kept it to allow us to actually earn some interest. But now with the interest rates as low as they are, there's really no great option, and the highest I've seen is maybe about 0.7% interest. Now, I understand that stocks, shares are a little bit more risky than keeping it in the bank, but I know for a fact I would rather take that risk 10 times out of 10 than just leave it doing nothing, losing money forever. This is where we come to ETFs, and it's the first thing that I invested in and continue to invest in monthly and will be for the long run. Exchange traded funds are basically a professionally managed type of fund where they will buy stocks, bonds, commodities, and securities and have what is often referred to as a basket of funds. The funds that are within this basket are then called holdings, and then the fund managers then sell those shares of those holdings to investors. Basically, you have a bunch of stocks that are run by someone else. They do the research for you, and you don't have to do the work for each individual company. And when we talked about Vanguard in the past, they have some fantastic ETFs or exchange traded funds that you can work with that actually do the work for you, and you don't have to do the research for them. It still is really important to do the research on the companies that are invested within these ETFs, but it is a lot simpler if you're not looking to put in all the work to do that. If you're looking to just get your money to work and leave it and you don't care about it, then it's probably the best way forward. I want you to know as well that this does not mean it's a safe bet. Just because a company is invested in a bunch of different funds and spreading the risk, it does not mean that they cannot lose, and you cannot lose all your money. It's just a part of the game. It's unlikely to happen, yes, if you choose the ETFs that have been going for long periods of time and decades at this point, but I still want you to know that is the case. What often happens with these ETFs is that the fund managers are purchasing the stocks in a variety of places in the market. Some focus on the newer markets, some focus on technology, some focus on energy. There's a lot of different ETFs out there, and you've got to find the one that works best for you. This is why a lot of people often go towards them, as the risk is spread out and you're not having to do all the research. Some of these places actually take out some of the companies that are doing worse and put ones that are doing better in, which allow you to potentially earn more money in the future. This is maybe where you've heard the term before, diversifying your portfolio. You're basically just spreading your risk over a wider net. So if one company fails, your money doesn't just go to zero. You know, you have a lot widespread. So if one company fails, you still have 9 and 10 others that are still doing great. How do you actually go about investing in ETFs then? What is the process of doing it? And I'm actually going to show you here. So if we hop on over to Trading212, this is just on the app right now, you have the search bar and you can actually click on ETFs on the other side. And I'm just going to click on the most popular right now. Now, some of them that come up with the iShares and the Vanguard, which we've talked about before. Now, if we go into the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, we can click on that and see its price at the moment. We can see its fluctuations in the market over the last day, and we have the potential to buy it if we'd like. Right now, the Vanguard S&P 500 is sitting at £54.21. I have talked about Vanguard previously, and they have been around since 1975. They've got their own website you can invest in solely with the Vanguard ETFs. Trading212 gives you more options with ETFs, but it really depends on your choice. Do research on both, see what works for you. If you're more interested in the individual companies and diversifying your portfolio that way, then Trading212 will be the best option. And if you want to just go more generic, I want to put my money there and leave it, Vanguard is probably a good option for that. Invest is simple in Trading212. You make an account, you connect your bank, you can get recurring money into your Trading212 at the start of each month at any date you want, and you can buy stocks whenever you want. You can even set up pies now where you're able to diversify your portfolio and have it reinvest and auto reinvest every single month. It's very easy to set up, and if you would like a sort of understanding and a guide to this as a whole, I don't know if that's something anyone's interested in, but leave a comment down below. Trading212 has many options, and a lot of people like to go for the individual stocks. The problem with individual stocks is that you have to do quite a lot of research to fully understand the company as a whole, and what a lot of beginner people do is just go on to what is trending. Things like GameStop in the past, and could have potentially lost thousands of pounds if they weren't careful and didn't sell at the right time. This is why it's important to understand the market and understand a little bit more about the stocks before just jumping right into it, and why ETFs might be the best way to go with a little sum of money at the start as you do more research. The way I thought about it was nothing was guaranteed in the bank ever, and I was most likely losing money. We never get taught about money or financial literacy in school, so I had to go and do it by myself and learn and understand it a little bit more. I'm no expert and I'm still learning every single day, but what better way to pass on that knowledge a little bit to someone who maybe wants to take that jump as well. This is why I'm trying to set up multiple sources of income. Hopefully ad revenue in the future from YouTube, the stocks and shares that could be making me some money, and a bunch of other different places. As during university, we often waste our money on things that really don't matter and things that are never going to take us anywhere. Yes, having nights out are great and going for meals is great, but we don't need to do it all the time. If we're just a little bit smarter than the average person at this stage, we could set ourselves up for an incredible life, and even things like early retirement, going on more holidays, and just having freedom that a lot of people might not have. The final thing I'm going to talk about today is crypto. There's probably a lot of people who are interested and want to understand that a little bit more. And I know there's theories everywhere about crypto and all that sort of stuff. It is extremely risky. I get that. It's very volatile, and I choose to invest around 10% of what I usually invest monthly into crypto just to be a part of it. Even if I lose it all, I'm excited to be a part of something new that's happening within the world. And there's more bigger companies who are investing in them, with Tesla and Square and Visa all investing quite large sums of money into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole. This is showing me that there is companies now that are taking it more seriously, and they do believe that something is going to happen with it in the future, and why I want to be a part of it as well. My final piece of advice is just don't be stupid with it. Don't put all your savings into stocks that you have no knowledge about. Don't just chase the trends all the time because that's what everyone else is doing. Do your research. Don't risk more than you can actually spare, because if we don't know what we're doing and we don't have that knowledge, it can all go away in the blink of an eye if we're not careful. I understand this video is a little bit different to what I usually do, but I am very interested in financial literacy and want to become better at it. And what better way to become more knowledgeable than to try to explain it in a way that would be easily understandable and for someone who didn't have a clue to be able to follow through. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, as I'd love to try to answer as best I can or put you onto websites that have more knowledge than I do. I want to give a massive thank you to all of the patrons who continue to support me on this journey. If you'd like to watch another video from the channel, it'll be on the screen right now. Have a fantastic day.